Lambda light? What the heck is a lambda light? Welcome back to Afternoon Garage. So today I'm going to be working on something that's been broken for a long time. Ever since I got the car, this thing's been broken, and I just unplugged it, forgot about it. But I kind of want to look at it myself. What I'm talking about here is the Lambda light. Most Delorean owners won't even be aware of, what exactly the Lambda light is, because you have to reach approximately 30,000 miles, I think, before the Lambda light gets set. It's on the dash right here. Let's look at it. There it is. It's that top light that says Lambda. The other one's an oil pressure light. The other one's a battery light. Those will go away when the car's started. But that Lambda light right there will stay illuminated. So you might think, Lambda light? What the heck is a Lambda light? From my experience, when anybody talks about Lambda, usually talking about exhaust gases. In this case, that's not what it means at all. What they're talking about here is there's a switch that's driven off the speedometer that actually illuminates this light when the mileage reaches a certain amount. So the only two ways to turn this light off are either reset the counter or unplug it. Most people unplug it. Most of these cars don't even reach 30,000 miles, so people won't even see them anyway. But I want to take mine apart, find out exactly how to reset this thing back to zero. It's very similar to a check engine light in a car, however, it's not really connected to anything. It doesn't have anything to do with anything other than to tell you that, hey, you've reached 30,000 miles and your service interval is about up, and you should probably take this car to get in and get serviced. This is one of those things that makes this car extra weird. So you got a light on the dash that comes on that merely tells you how many miles you have on the car. Well, let's pull it off, take it out, look at it. Underneath the dash, you have this. The reason I knew that this was the problem, because I took this, what looks like a trailer connector, and I unplugged it, and the light went away. So I knew it had to be something with this. So how this works is this goes to the cluster, this goes out to the front wheel. We'll get to that in a minute, but let's disconnect these two speedometer cables. Push that out of the way. Take that one out. Looks like just two bolts. Alright. Take this weird thing to the bench and check it out. Here's the box. I'm actually kind of impressed with this. Looks like it's made by Smiths. Anybody know about Smiths? They make some instruments that are really top quality. So it says there's a little meter in there. It says 120% life used. So I would say that once it reaches 100, this thing's going to switch somehow. I think the thing to do is figure out exactly what state these wires are in and go from there. But 120, this car has 36,000 miles on it, so if it's supposed to go off at 30, 120 would be about right. That would be probably never reset since the car was new. But man, what a weird, screwy way to tell you your car needs to be serviced. And just as I expected, close to 0 ohms. So you know that this thing switches. This thing basically internally shorts and turns the light on in the dash. Looks like a really small button. But I think what I'm going to try is I'm going to try turning that and see if this number goes down at all or up or what the heck's going to happen, or see if I can get this back down to 0. Okay, what I'm going to try here is take some really fine needle nose pliers and we'll stick it inside of here. Here at Afternoon Garage, try to be as transparent as possible. Most of the stuff you see me take apart, I've taken it apart for the first time. That's why you notice that all the bolts are tight. So sometimes there's a lot of editing involved in doing that, and maybe back and forth getting some tools. What I really wanted to convey with this part here, so I just kind of wanted to show when it turned on, when it turned off. So unfortunately I reset this counter here, and what I was going to do is I was going to have it set up next to the meter, which I'm still going to do, but unfortunately it's not saying 120 anymore, it says 111. I wanted to return it to 120% and show you exactly what it's like when you reset it. I connected a drill to this thing, and it spun, and it spun, and it spun, and it wasn't moving off of 111. So I thought, well, let's figure that out. So I needed to go, it's at 111 now, and I needed to go to 120. So that's 9%. 9% of 30,000 is 27. So I have to simulate 2,700 miles. Typically speedometers are 1,000 RPM at 60 miles an hour. So 1,000 RPM, that would take 47 hours for me to get to where it says 111 to 120. This drill goes to 600 RPM. So that would take 67 and a half hours of me sitting here like this to get it back to 120. So for the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to assume it says 120, even though it's 111. Here, the counter says 111, and it's essentially short, 2.1 ohms. So if you turn to 0, it's open. So I suspect anytime there's a 1 here, it's going to turn on. There we go. That was a pretty good test. So now we know when there's a 1 in this first digit here, it switches. More importantly, can you imagine the gear reduction that's in here? 67 hours of turning this at 600 RPM, and you're going to get 9% out of it? Man, there's one hell of a gear reduction in here. I'm really tempted to take this apart. However, there's a factory sealed screw here, and well, I think if I take this apart, I'll end up with a bunch of gears in my hand. This is one of the more interesting parts I've ever seen. Just so everybody's clear on what exactly Lambda is, well, this is the only Lambda that's in this car. So what there is there's an ECU back here called the Lambda ECU. What it does is it does what you'd think Lambda would do. It takes exhaust gases, measures them, and adjusts the fuel mixture accordingly with something called the frequency valve. It adjusts the duty cycle on how much fuel is actually bled off on the fuel distributor. So make sure and not get this Lambda confused with that Lambda. Probably going to be best to put the screws on first. Might have to rotate this a little bit to get it to go in there. It's a square drive. There we go. Make sure that's seated all the way before you go put the cap on. Okay, here's the dash. You can see the Lambda light right there is off. I want to talk about the rest of the path with this speedometer cable. It'll go through the firewall. Well, essentially what's the firewall? Right behind the tire, right where you'd think it would get hit by debris or, I don't know, something. and then to the spindle, and then a right angle 90 degree into the wheel. So the actual speed is determined on how fast that front wheel is going, right? So that is also a problem. That right angle drive, it's got some metal gears in it, has a tendency to fall apart. On mine, I think it was already replaced. So on the next episode, we're gonna do some underbody lights. I know people make a lot of fun of people who have underglow or whatever you want to call it, but you know, I find it very fitting on this car. So it's gonna be like a two-part episode. There's gonna be a lot involved. If you'd like to see anything on this channel, please let me know in the comments section. Until next time.